Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller from Antioch, Illinois in the US, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator bringing you some paper pumpkin alternatives for the July 2021 kit, which is called The Adventure Begins. I actually came up with 5 alternative cards for this month's kit. 3 of them are Christmas cards because it just kind of sparked, I'll show you why, but it sparked some Christmas card ideas for me. So I will put those at the end in case you don't celebrate Christmas or you're not interested in that, because I do have 2 other alternatives that are not Christmas cards. So once I edit the video, I will let you know where the Christmas cards start. So if you are interested in that, you can go right to it. So I'm going to turn my camera around so we can get started. First, let me show you the components and the cards that come in this wonderful kit. Again, it's called The Adventure Begins. And of course it comes with a beautiful stamp set. It's got a tree and some definition on the tree and a lot of sentiments. It comes with a garden green Stampin' Spot and of course a sneak preview of next month's kit, the Hope Box, which I'm so excited about. I've seen sneak peeks. If you are on Facebook, check out the Paper Pumpkin Fan Club page, and now there's a new blog for Paper Pumpkin, so search that. I'm sure you'll find it, and they've got some wonderful sneak peeks of this kit. It looks like it's going to be fun, and for me, a lot of the colors that I love. The color palette is gorgeous. But of course, we also have this month's kit, and I actually love the color palette for this as well. I'm not really a green person, and yet the colors really work. There's some blue in there, and I really like them. Just remember that on the back, they will show the components of the kit. There are some sequins and of course some glue dots and some dimensionals and the other components for the kit. So always make sure you check that first. And the cards, these are the ones that come in the kit. Cute little camper and some trees and some hills in the background. And of course the lantern and the little fireflies. So those are the cards that you make if you make the kit the way it comes. But of course, that's only half the fun. The other part is coming up with alternatives. So I'm going to show you the ones that I came up with. These are the alternatives that I've come up with. 2 that are non-Christmas and then 3 that are Christmas cards. So we will be making all of these. I will show you step by step as we go along. This is the first card that I did. I really liked the lantern, but what I didn't like was the fact that you take out the outline from the card base. Here's the card base for the card. And we're actually going to use all of the components, even this for scrap. So, but you take out the extra and you have then your lantern defined if you do the card the way it is meant to be made. Which is again like this, so that the lantern is freestanding. But I decided I wanted to use this because I really like the fact that it has the outline of the pretty colors around it. You don't need to ink, you don't need to do anything special because it's right there. So we are going to use this, and we are going to use the lantern, of course. So I'm going to cut that off. Easiest, I think, to do it this way. Just give it a straight cut with your paper snips. And like I said, we will be using this for another project. And let me bring in a card base. I've got a basic white card base, an A2 card. And I am going to change this a little. Why would you not be surprised at that? I always change something, but after the fact, I decided I wanted to use some different colors. I actually don't have any more of this. This is Bermuda Bay from the Brights Designer Series paper pack. There's 6x6 sheets, and that was the last of it. I used it for another project, so then I decided for this card, we're gonna bring in instead crushed curry because that picks up the color in the lantern, and see what that looks like, and then you can decide which one you like better. So the crushed curry is from the Regals. And again, the Bermuda Bay is from the Brights. And this is cut at 2 inches by 4 1/4, which actually is a little bit wider This one is 1 3/4 inches, but we're going to play with positioning just a little bit too. The tricky part for this is that you're stamping actually underneath this, and then you have to place it over. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. We're going to move this out of the way. And this, because we're not going to put it on yet, we're going to start with some stamping. So what I did is I stamped the tree. Not only, let me bring in a scrap so I can keep my work surface clean. I stamped it not only here, but I also stamped it then underneath where it's going to sit, because I wanted the lantern to mimic that it's hanging from the tree branch. So that was my thinking going in. So I'll show you how to do that. I used the garden green that comes, the color that comes with the kit, although we will be bringing in some other colors, but we're going to start with garden green. So I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I don't even need to ink up the whole thing because we're not using it all, but you can ink it up if that's easier. And so again, I'm starting, I think we'll do this. So it looks like that tree branch is going to be holding the lantern. And there's a reason I'm not going completely through the card. You get a little bit of a shadow, and I didn't want there to be that. So we are going to clean this and then start again. I don't need to really clean it completely. Ink it up. And then again, I want it to look like it is in the tree. So we're just going to cover really it with garden green. And then we're going to ink it up again. I'm actually going to clean this because I definitely now only want part of this tree on the inside. I don't want it to overlap on the outside, so I'm going to ink half, but it's easy to do. You can just lay your stamp right on the edge, and there it is. I've got half of it inked. So now I'm going to decide where my placement's going to be. Let me put this down for a minute. So if I do have my crushed curry over here, and I think I'm going to have it more toward the top, like that. So what I want to do is anticipate where this is going to be, about like that. So that that green shows behind, so that the tree shows behind where the lantern will be hanging. And then I'm just going to lift this up and then stamp. Okay, so hopefully that worked. Well, let's see. Yes. So now it's more, I can position this more toward the top, and it will cover. See, we just move until it covers and we straighten it out. And then we're going to place this down and put the lantern behind it. So I'm going to take my garden green out of the way. And I decided this time, we'll finish our stamping before we put everything down, but I decided this time that I wanted the fireflies in crushed curry instead of in the garden green. So again, this card will look very different in color from the one that is here. And there are actually two little fireflies. This is the bigger one, but I just decided for ease, I'm just using one on this project. So I thought this was a better color for the fireflies. So we're just stamping a couple of those down the side. And I did also stamp them on the envelope in the address box. I love the envelopes too, aren't they so pretty? All the beautiful colors, but I thought that would be an appropriate place. I often stamp in the corner, but I liked them flying sort of up in the air, and I thought in the white space was a good choice. And now I have my Bermuda Bay ink pad, and I'm going to just stamp the Explore up at the top in that Bermuda Bay. And then I'm bringing in a circle that's part of the kit, and we're going to stamp The World Awaits You. And with long photopolymer stamps, I like to lay them down and then pick them up with the block so that I know that it's straight. And you'll see it's one long sentiment, but I have stamped it in two. So I'm going to show you how I did that as well. One way to do it is to take a sticky note and put it over the half that you don't want stamped. But I found with this one especially, I can ink it because the words are spaced apart adequately. I can just lay those first two words on the edge of the ink pad, up to the edge of the ink pad, so only those get inked. But if you're nervous about doing that, just put a sticky note and that will solve the problem. And I'm just going to stamp the world. And then of course, make sure you clean your stamp in between. And now I'm going to ink the other half. Doing the same thing, just laying it up to the edge. And I can see because it's photopolymer that there's no ink on the other side. I'm gonna put a little more ink on this though. And then stamp awaits you underneath. And then while I have the ink pad out, I'm going to do the inside. We're going to stamp Let the Adventure Begin, which is another stamp from the kit. Again, laying it down first and then picking it up. And we'll ink that also in Bermuda Bay. And we will add a couple of fireflies as well. So I'm bringing back the crushed curry. And this is what made me change my mind when I did it on the inside. But we'll stamp a few here and there. Gotta love photopolymer. Fix those mistakes. And then we just have to put it all together. All right, so we'll take this out of the way. And the first thing we're gonna do is place this because this is the most important piece. And I'm just using my Stampin' Seal. And so I just wanna place it so that the bottom is level with the bottom of where I stamped and there's no white showing. And that, of course, it is straight. And that looks pretty good. And then we'll put our strip of crushed curry. Oops. And then for the last two, we're going to pop them up with dimensionals. And dimensionals do come with the kit. And now that I've taken off the backing, I'm going to place them, offsetting this just a little bit. And then placing, oh, that's right, and I inked this. That is right. We got to do some inking first. I'm going to bring in my blending brush and my Bermuda Bay ink and my scrap again. So you start off of your paper because it tends to be sort of dark and I just want a little light finish all the way around, kind of leaving the center white just to soften it a bit. On this one, I actually inked the edges first with my sponge, and then I decided I wanted it a little softer. So I brought out my blending brush. So you could do both the way I did it there, or just do it with the blending brush the way I've done it here. And of course, our card won't be complete until we have our bling on there. So I'm bringing my take your pick tool, and we're putting one to highlight the little light in the center, and then a couple of the smaller ones. Put one up here, and one here. And that is our first finished card. Let me know which one you prefer in the comments. And here is card number 2. For this one, I used a regular basic white card base. And our beautiful designer series papers from the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper pack, one of the ones that is on sale this month. So if you have not seen that, several of our papers are 15% off. This is one of them. So if you're interested, contact your demonstrator, or if you don't have one, contact me and I'll show you how to place an order. I have cut this to the size of the card front, so 5.5 by 4 1/4. And I'm just going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. Line it up perfectly because the glue does allow for some of that movement. And then I cut a strip. I believe this is 1 1/8 inch wide by, again, 5.5 to fit across. And this is another one of the papers from that paper pack because I was going for the look of someone camping in the woods with the trees around. That was my idea for the card. And then I'm going to take my card with the camper and we're going to punch this out, but we're going to keep this because we're going to use it. And then we're just going to snip the camper out of the card base. And we're going to take this. I really liked the inking around the edge of this one as well. So after using it for the first card, using one of them, the extras or the throwaway pieces, I decided to use another one. So for this one, all I'm going to do is take my paper trimmer and make it so it's even. Have a nice straight line and just get rid of the excess. And then this becomes our tag at the bottom. And actually, I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Definitely keep that in mind that you have to make sure that your tag is going to fit. So actually, I would like it maybe like that. So I'm going to lay this just a little bit higher on the card, just a little bit higher up than halfway. And when I saw the stamps in the set, I decided that the stamp that's used to give definition to the tree also could be used for grass. So we're going to use the bottom portion turned upside down to make some grass because I wanted that camper to sit in on the grass. So I'm going to bring my scrap in again. And we need to put some on the camper and on the tag. But first we're going to get that sentiment, "Let the adventure begin." As I was thinking of this as a retirement card, and I did see that there are several other sets in the catalog that have retirement type sentiments. I thought a good man showed "Relax Your Way" because retirement, we think of relaxing. This one, "Rest and Relax, You Deserve It" from Timeless Tropical. "Collect Beautiful Moments," which I thought was perfect for the camper from the Beautiful Moments set. And then the "Congratulations," which we are going to use inside on this card from Hand Penned. There are some sets that have retirement sentiments in the catalog that I don't have. One is the Many Happenings set, says "Happy Retirement." And then the Senior Years that has "Happy Retirement." So if I had either one of those, that's what I would use for this card, but I'm just going to use the Congratulations today. And again, they're all good companions to some of the sentiments that are actually in the kit. So for this one, I'm bringing back my Garden Green. And even though there's no Garden Green in the paper, it's Mossy Meadow and Old Olive. I thought that it made a good, it would be useful for the grass and it coordinates. But actually, I'm going to do this sentiment, I think, in Crushed Curry, changing my mind again. So let's do that first. Just for a little contrast, we'll do "Let the Adventure Begin" in Crushed Curry toward the bottom on the right. And then for our Garden Green, the idea is to position the tag right underneath here, because we have 3 sides that have color, but the 4th side doesn't. So we want to cover that up. So we're going to put the camper, maybe about like that, and then we're going to fussy cut some trees to cover this up. So I want to see where my grass is going to need to be, pretty much above the and the A in the word excuse me, and the A in adventure. And what I did was, again, I used the edge of the ink pad to just ink up a little bit of to ink up that last row. And I do see I've got a little bit here that's stray. That looks pretty good other than that. And then I'm going to put it right about here and then ink it again. And again, feel free, if this makes you nervous, to use a sticky note. Do a little bit more over there. And then offset it and do it again. So there's our grass. And then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom by the wheel of the camper. And ink it up and offset it a little bit. And we are going to keep this handy because we're going to do the inside of the card as well with that word congratulations from the hand pen set. Again, laying it down first and picking it up with the block. And I'll decide where this is going to go and put it on with my Stampin' Seal. And the camper. So again, keeping it toward the left edge. And you can easily line it up with the grass, which I love. So it looks like the camper sitting in the grass at your campsite by the trees. And the last but not least, I just fussy cut a couple of the trees from the designer series paper. And at first I popped them up with dimensionals, but it didn't look right because they're supposed to be by the camper. So I'm just going to use a couple of glue dots, and there are glue dots that come in the kit, so you can use those if you'd like. And then that covers that last bit of the line that's not colored, and there's our... All right, and here is card number 3, which is the first of the Christmas cards, the 3 Christmas cards that I did. And so I paired the paper pumpkin set with the Perfectly Plaid stamp set because I felt like it just was a good companion. And so again, I'm starting with a Whisper White card base, or a basic white card base, and this one is actually thick Whisper White, but you can use either one. And then I'm using the outline from the very first card with the lantern. So we've cut the lantern off, and this one really with the little dots, which sort of remind me of Christmas lights in Flirty Flamingo, and some actually in white, just reminded me of Christmas. So that was what sparked the Christmas idea. And so instead of having it this way, I thought it worked this way as well, with the trees sort of on the side. That's the concept. And so all I did was just cut it then off of the card base. And now we're going to adhere it with Stampin' Seal. And of course, if you wanted to, you could also use your multi-purpose liquid glue. And then we're going to do some stamping. So I'm going to bring in Just Jade. And we're going to just stamp Merry Christmas on the front. And you can see that my Merry Christmas stamp is well loved. It is stained pink, but as you will see, there will be no pink on the card. Even though it's stained and looks like it's going to stamp pink, it will not. It will take whichever color you use, even the lighter yellows and pinks, and not show, with light yellow, for example, not show any pink at all. So don't be concerned if your stamps get a little stained. And then I'm going to take one of the Christmas trees from the Perfectly Plaid set, and we're going to put one, make sure that's inked well, one right about here. And then we're actually going to cut off the white insert and use that to stamp on. So we're really not wasting anything from this kit because, like I said, we're going to use this to stamp on. And the way I did it was I stamped one tree full strength and then another one. Actually, I'm going to do that again. It's a little bit uneven. Let's try this again. So I'm going to stamp full strength and then do another one next to it, stamped off, so that gives me the variety in color that I'm looking for. And we'll punch those in a minute, but first we're going to do our sentiment on the inside. And it says, "May this special season be wrapped in love and joy." And we'll do yet one more tree on the inside. And I probably will do that also on the envelope. So there's the inside completed, and we have all of our stamping done. And we're now just going to take the pine tree punch and cut out both of the trees. You could also, if you wanted to, mask and get the same effect, but I like the dimension of being able to pop one of them up. So I am going to cut off the trunks. And I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal on the first tree, and we'll lay it right at the bottom. And on our second one, we'll use some dimensionals. And we're going to overlap that one, put it sort of between the other two, not as high as this one, not as low as this one, and offset so that it overlaps the border. And last but not least, we just need our bling. So I'm going to bring back those adhesive back sequins that come in the kit. And we'll use, I'm not sure what shade they are, but they look like balmy blue. Whoops. And there we have, quick and easy, our second card. All right, and here's our fourth card. And again, we're going to use the very last part of that first card, the lantern card. So I already cut it down. I took just a smidge off of this end, maybe between 1/4 of an 1/8 of an inch. And because when I did it here, it lined up top and bottom, but it left just a little bit on the edge. This one should leave more of an edge all the way around the card. So that's your choice, which way you would like to do it. And we will start off though by doing some stamping. So, and this time I have a Just Jade card base. So I'm going to bring in my scrap for the stamping. And we're going to bring in Garden Green for the tree. And we're going to ink the whole thing up this time. And stamp it about here. And while we've got our Garden Green, we're going to use it for the outline stamp of the tree, so it outlines the leaves and the branches. And put that one about here, because I don't want my stem to show. And then we're going to do the same thing on the inside of the card. And for the inside, because it is darker, I used a mint macaron card base. So it's still green. I wanted something other than white, but it's lighter so it's easier to write on. So I'm going to do the same thing with that outline stamp on the bottom corner of the inside of the card. Oops. Let's try that again. Get that little spot we missed. A little bit of a shadow, but not too bad. And it's going to be filled in so it won't show as much. And now we've got the Just Jade. And that will be the fill-in, the other stamp with all the leaves. And it is tricky to line it up, I will say. But so far I've had pretty good luck every time, including this time. And we'll do the same thing on the front. The closer you bring it, the better you can see. Great. And then we're going to bring in one of the die cuts from the set. And I'm stamping this with Christmas Cheer, which comes from this, which has a sentiment. It says, hoping that your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. And I only want the Christmas cheer part because it's not going to fit all of it there. So again, you can put a Post-it note to cover the words, but I really do like to use the edge of my ink pad. So I'm going to do that again because it lines up pretty well. And with the photopolymer stamps, I can see there might be just a tiny bit of stray ink there. So I'm going to take that off and then stamp it here. Excellent. And then for the sentiment on the inside, we're using the same one for the last card. May this special season be wrapped in love and joy. And then we are going to bring this back in and we're going to use our blending brush because I wanted to really soften that white. So this time I'm doing color all the way through it because I really, like I said, wanted to soften that white. Sometimes I will just do the edges, but of course it's smaller too. And I want variations of color, so I'm really pretty happy with that, just like it is. And then before we put that Just Jade ink away, we're going to bring in the definition stamp from the Paper Pumpkin kit one more time. And we're just starting from the very bottom of where that tree is and creating some definition on it. And that is the last of our stamping. So we're just going to put everything together, starting with the inside. I do like the softness of that. And then the same thing with the front. Just got a little tiny edge all around. And then we'll use our dimensionals. This one looks like it got moved over a little, so we'll move this actually a little bit more to the right. And I love the way the color on this combines with the background, so you can get away with doing that and not centering it. And then last but not least, our bling. I decided to put them on top of each of the Christmas trees. But you can scatter them around the front of the card instead if you'd like. And there's card number 4. And again, I put Merry Christmas on the envelope, or you could do the tree. And now for our last card. This one uses the whole card front, or the whole card base, I should say, from the one with the trees. So we're going to just pop this out and flatten it with the bone folder. And we're gonna grab one of the tags from the set. And I think we'll do our stamping on the inside first. Merry Christmas, and then I have the two trees, the one from the paper pumpkin set and one from the Perfectly Plaid set. So we'll do that first. And I'm gonna bring in my scrap for the tag because we'll need it for that. And I'm again using the Just Jade. And we'll start off with the Merry Christmas. And then our large tree. And I'm doing them in the same color just because I will get contrast because they're different trees. Make sure we have good ink on there. And I like there's an extra space because the tree is very large. There's still plenty of space to write even after we stamp both of them. And then we're just going to layer that one right next to it. So our inside is done. And we're going to do our tag. And this time we are going to use the whole sentiment, hoping that your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. And it will just fit in here. Beautiful. Oh, that's right. And we have one more tree to do on our scrap. We're going to bring in that scrap again that we've been using and stamp one more tree that we're going to use on the front. So that should be all of our stamping. We're going to cut that out with the pine tree punch. The inside has had a little bit of time to dry. Sometimes with the darker colors and the very heavily inked stamps, it takes a minute to dry, but they both look dry. So we'll close that back up. And on this one, I actually stamped the tree on both sides only because I had stamped in Garden Green and then I decided I wanted to try the Just Jade and I liked it better. So you can stamp on both sides if you would like, but that was actually me covering a mistake. And on this one, we're going to leave the trunk there because we're going to put a glue dot and use that to adhere it to the card. And we're just going to put it right in between and sit it right around the curve. The natural curve that's there. And then this I did actually also ink with my sponge. So I am gonna bring that back in. Bring in my ink pad again, and we're just gonna very lightly ink the edges because this time I wanted subtle color, but I really wanted definition on the edges. So the sponge works very well for that. And then we're going to put it on with dimensionals again. And we're going to fit it so that it is over toward the right hand side and just covers the bottom of that tree. Maybe like this actually. And then last but not least, some bling. And for this one, I'm using the Holiday Rhinestone Basic Jewels. Just grabbed a few different colors and put them along the edges of the tree, using the smaller ones and putting it's actually pumpkin pie toward the top because I thought that looked the most star-like. And then again, just laying some of them around the edges, even the Coastal Cabana and the Night of Navy, which is actually in the set. And let's see, we will do, I think, another red one. And maybe one more Night of Navy. Right there. So now our Christmas tree has some lights, and that is our final card. So I hope you liked it. I hope you liked all of my alternatives. I hope it sparks some ideas for you. You know, I find that when I see other people's alternatives, it sparks the beginning of an idea for me. I don't typically copy anything completely, although sometimes I do, but mostly I just take the ideas and kind of run with them. So I encourage you to do the same. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you come back every month to see my paper pumpkin alternatives and that you'll like my channel, and please click on the bell to be notified when I post new videos. I've got lots on my channel besides paper pumpkin alternatives. I have cards, scrapbook pages, home decor items, and lots of good things, some tips and techniques also. So lots there for you to enjoy and use. So again, thanks for joining me. I really, really appreciate you subscribing and watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye, everyone.